हरि ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री हिरण्यगर्भाय नमः। ओम श्री महाविष्णवे नमः। ओम श्री महादेवाय नमः। ओम श्री महादुर्गाय नमः। ओम श्री राम रामाय नमः। ओम श्री सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयम् नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। शङ्करं परमानन्दं ब्रह्मनिष्ठं यतीश्वरं भाष्यभ्रान्तिहरं वन्दे शुद्धज्ञानैकबोधकम्। ओम नमः शिवाय। 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 नमः पार्वती पतये। हर हर महादेव। हरि ओम हरि ओम। We'll begin with the Shanti mantra. Om Bhadram Karneभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्ताक्षो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। We shall chant mantra number 9, section 4. एष हि द्रष्टा स्पृष्टा श्रोता घ्राता रसयिता मंता बोद्धा कर्ता विज्ञानात्मा पुरुषः स परे अक्षरे आत्मने संप्रतिष्ठते। परमेवाक्षरं प्रतिपद्यते स यो हवै तद् अच्छायम् अशरीरम् अलोहितं शुभ्रम् अक्षरं वेदयते यस्तु सौम्य स सर्वज्ञः सर्वो भवति तदेष श्लोकः। So the fourth speaker, Saurya Nigargya, he asked few questions about Swapna. Bhagwan etasmin purushe kani swapanti, who goes to sleep, who remains awake, which devata sees the brain, for whom is the sukha, and where are all these established, fixed? So the teacher answered all these questions, that when the senses and the mind also go to sleep, the pranas remain awake. And it is the mind which sees the brain. And when the mind is overpowered by the heat of pitta, it goes into sushupti avastha. And everything resides in that supreme self. A very beautiful example the teacher gives. Kisa yatha somya vayamsi vaso vruksham sampratishtante evam havai tat sarvam para atmani sampratishtate. Just as the birds, they fly back to the tree where they roost. So the birds are alive and they are just resting on the tree. Only the tree appears there, no activity of the birds are there. But again in the morning, the birds wake up and go to their respective places in search of food. In the same way, when one goes to sleep, everything rests. Prithvi in the Prithvi Matra, Apa Matra, etc. means all the five elements, the subtle elements, the Indriyas, the Antakarana, everything takes a rest. Not only all this, but also the Vijnana Atma, that is the Pratyek Atma. The Pratyek Atma also remains in that Supreme Self. See, all these divisions of seer and seen, all this Bheda is experienced when the mind is awake. We experience Dvaita only in the waking and dream. When the mind is awake, but in deep sleep, when the mind is dormant, there is no experience of Dvaita, there is only Advaita, there is only that one. So in the waking and dream, one experiences Dvaita and one assumes that Dvaita is true, but when we will gain that knowledge, means an enlightened person, even in the waking and dream, sees oneness. But for an ignorant person, the waking and dream appears to be in duality. So everything remains established in the Supreme Self. Not only the seen world, but the seer also. So, who is the seer? Who is the knower? Ishahi drashta, who is the seer, knower, the one who touches, one who smells, one who thinks, one who eats, one who understands, one who does. So, Eshahi drashta, sprashta, shrota, grata, rasayita, manta, buddha, karta, vijnanatma is called vijnanatma, purushaha. Purushaha means it pervades all the senses, the mind, the body. This Purushaha, Vijnanatma, also resides in the Supreme Self, Pare Akshare Atmani Sampratisthate. See, when we are aware of the world outside, when we know the world, the knower is different from what is known. That is how things are known. The knower has to be different from what is known. So I see something, the eyes are different, and what is seen are different. But the eyes are also known by our mind. When the eyes are not functioning properly, I say, oh, I can't see things properly nowadays. So who knows the eyes? The mind knows the eyes. But even the mind is known, the emotions are known. I say I am very upset today, or I am very happy. So, how do you know that you are happy? I know. With what? With the help of my intellect. And the intellect is also known. The presence of the intellect or the functioning of the intellect is also known. Sometimes we say that, oh, I don't understand properly, I cannot decide, or I have decided. So, intellect is also known. And ahankar is also known. The presence of ahankar is known. And when we are in deep sleep, the ahankar, mind, intellect doesn't function. And we know that none of them were present, none of them were functioning, but I was there. So that I, who is different from the world outside, who is different from the senses, who is different from the mind, the intellect, the ego, that I is the one who is the real seer, knower, thinker, because it is different from all this. And that I is the one who is present in deep sleep without the instruments, means separated from the instruments, who remains there. That I, who is also called Sushupta Atma, the deep sleeper. That I alone is also known as Kshetrajna, the knower of Kshetra. That I is also called Purusha because he pervades the body, the mind, the senses. That I is also known as the innermost self, Pratyek Atma. That is who I am. And due to my past karmas, due to ignorance, I feel connected with this body. Though I don't have any connection with the body, but I feel connected with the body, with the mind, with the senses. So that I is indicated here as Vijnanatma because of the presence of this Vijnanatma, the intellect gets the capacity to know, the mind gets the capacity to know, the senses get the capacity to know because of the presence of this Vijnanatma, which is of the nature of jnanam only, which is of the nature of your knowledge. So that I am connected with this body. So when the body, mind, intellect is resting, I remain alone, separated, and I remain established in my supreme self. But when the mind, intellect wakes up, again that identification with the mind, intellect happens, and I continue to experience the waking in the dream world. So that is the Vijnanatma. So what happens to that Vijnanatma? So Vijnanatma Purusha sa pare akshare atmani sampratisthate. Also gain abidance in that Param Atma, in that Supreme Self. That Supreme Self is not connected to this body. See, like a pot is there, or like a vessel is there, and the space is there in there. That space seems to be connected to that pot. Space seems to be connected, therefore we call it pot space. But if you just look at space or think of space by itself, space has got no connection with the pot at all. So the cosmic space is not at all connected to any pot or any object. But in that little pot we experience that space. So that space experience in a pot is like that Pratyagatma, is like this Vijnanatma, is like this Kshetrajna, and the total space is like that Supreme Self, the Brahma. So when the pot is not functioning, what happens to that space inside the pot? It is one with the total space. But when the pot wakes up, again identification with that pot happens. And one says, I am going here, I am going there, I am doing this, I am seeing this, I am experiencing this. So that Vijnana Atma remains established in the Supreme Self because the Vijnana Atma's real nature is that Supreme Self alone. So what is the nature of that Supreme Self in which everything remains established? Just like I gave the example of the castle made from sand. So the castle is there, king, queen, ministers, horses, people, roads, so many things are there. And they are different. A king is different from the queen is different from the ministers. But when you don't pay attention to the form, suppose it becomes dark, then what happens? Then everyone remains there as sand. The king remains as sand, the queen remains as sand. There are no divisions of any kind. Everything is just known as sand. But when the sun rises, we see all the differences there. Similarly, in deep sleep, everything remains as Brahma. Because in waking also everything is Brahma. But due to our ignorance, we see differences. So, what is that Supreme Brahma? What is the nature of that Supreme Self in whom everything gets established? That is now being conveyed in the 10th mantra. We will chant that mantra again. Paramevaksharam pratipadyate स यो ह वै तदच्छायम् अशरीरम् अलोहितं शुभ्रम् अक्षरं वेदयते यस्तु सौम्य स सर्वज्ञः सर्वो भवति तदेष श्लोकः. It says कि परम एव अक्षरं प्रतिपद्यते. Yes, Vedayate Yastu Somya. The teacher says that one who knows that Supreme Self remains as that Supreme Self, attains that Supreme Self. See, I, by nature, am that Supreme Self. But due to identification with the body, mind, I identify with the waking, dream, deep sleep. I consider myself as the waker, dreamer, deep sleeper. But when I come to know that Supreme Self, then I remain as that Self only. Then for me there is no waking, there is no dreaming, there is no deep sleeping. Everything is my own self alone. So that Supreme Self is indicated here, which will be then further indicated in the last chapter also. So here says कि परमे Shankaracharya writes कि परम एव अक्षरम वक्ष्यमाण विशेषणम प्रतिपद्यते इति एतदुच्यते. So this Param Akshara is attained, which will be described further. That Parama Akshara, Parama Atma is attained by one who knows it. So knowing that self itself is attaining that self. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to modify anything. Just we have to know to attain that supreme. Jnanat eva tu kaivalyam. All our karma and upasanas are meant only to purify the antakarana, to make us fit to know that Supreme Self. But once that Supreme Self is known, it is attained. Suppose I am dreaming that I am in some forest and a tiger is chasing me and I am feeling scared and I am running and in lot of trouble. But the body is just lying down in my bedroom, nice and cool, everything is comfortable. But in my dream, I am in trouble. So if I want to become free of all the trouble of the dream, what is the way? If the tiger is chasing me, what should I do? I should run, but the real, complete freedom from all the trouble of the dream will be there when I wake up. In the same way, this trouble of this samsara is there because I am asleep in the samsara. In that asleep means I am ignorant of my own self. When I come to know who am I am free. So who is that? Who am I? That is being indicated here. Sayo havai tad achayam. I am that which is free from all shadows. In me there are no shadows. Achayam. Sayo havai tad sarveshana vinirmuktaha. Shankaracharya writes, he also indicates here, who knows that Supreme Self? He said, Tat Sarveshana Vinirmuktaha, one who is free from all Ishna, all desires. When one drops all desires, then the mind becomes extremely calm and peaceful. And in that peace and calmness and tranquility of the mind, when we meditate on our own inner self, we come to realize that self. So tat sarveshana vinirmuktaha. And what is that nature of that self? Achayam. It doesn't have chaya. It doesn't have a shadow. It doesn't have a reflection. Means what? Tamo varjitam. It doesn't have tamogun. It doesn't have darkness. That self is free from darkness. It is of the nature of light. It is always bright. There is no darkness. Tamogun cannot touch it. See, when we are in deep sleep, generally people think it is very dark and all. Because we identify with the mind when awake, and just before going, we see everything is dark and all. So we think everything is dark. But that self is of the nature of light. It is bright and brilliant. It is not there is no shadow in it. So tamo varjitam, there is no tamogun. Ashariram, it is free from sharir. There is no body in that self. Nama rupa sarvopadi sharira varjitam. It is free from all names and forms and all bodies. It doesn't have a form. It doesn't have a shape. See, all limited thing, finite thing has a shape, has a form, and that which has a form we give some name also. But that which is all pervading, which is present everywhere, doesn't have any form. So it is ashariram. It doesn't have any sharir. So nama rupa sarvopadi sharira varjitam. It is free from all upadhis. There are no upadhis in that Supreme Self. Alohitam. Alohitam means there are no colors. Lohitadi sarva guna varjitam. It is free from all qualities. See, all objects, they have their own qualities, but this Supreme Atma doesn't have any qualities to describe, to define it. So it is all Lohitam. It is neither red, nor white, nor green, nor yellow. It is free from all gunas. Yata evam ataha shubhram, therefore it is shubhram, extremely pure. Shubhra. means Shuddham, extremely pure, untouched by all impurities. Sarva Visheshana Rahitatva, it is free from all descriptions. Therefore, it is Aksharam, it is free from decay and destruction. There is no destruction for that Supreme Self. That is who I am, that is who you are. Satyam Purushakyam, it is Satyam. It is Satya means it is existence, changeless existence. It is called Purusha because it pervades the body, the senses, everything. Satyam Purushakyam Apranam is all Shankaracharya is writing in his Bhashya. Apranam, there is no prana in that Supreme Self. But from that self alone, prana is born, but in that self there is no prana. Just like in the sand, there are no castles, there is no king, there is no queen. Like if suppose there is a bottle of ink, if you look at that bottle of ink, there is no joy, there is no sorrow in that ink, there is no suspense, there is no comedy, there is no sadness, there is no fear, there is no laughter in that ink. If you buy a bottle of ink and just look at it, you will not feel great joy or happiness or sadness or tragedy or comedy or suspense. But with that same ink, a beautiful suspense novel is written. There are some novelists and all, they write such captivating, engrossing novels that if you start to read, if you read one or two pages, then you are stuck. You will not give up till you finish the entire novel. So, what is the whole novel? It's nothing but ink on white paper. It's just ink in different shapes, giving rise to different words and sentences. And those sentences are giving rise to various emotions. But all these emotions, sentences, and all are created by the words and letters. But in that ink, there is no novel, there is no poem, there is no literature. It is just plain. Similarly, in that Supreme Self, there is no prana, there is no mana. But from that Supreme Self alone, the prana, mana, everything is born. And once they are born, they create a beautiful suspense novel of this world in which we become the participants. So, apranam, amanogocharam, beyond the comprehension of the mind. Shivam, extremely auspicious. Shantam, peaceful. Sabhaya bhantaram, ajam, and it is ajar, inside out, peaceful and unborn. So Vedayate, one who knows this, one who recognizes this through the path shown by the Shastras, when one directly experiences. The knowing is experiencing, not knowing as an object. but knowing as my own self. So one who knows it, Vedayate Vijanati Yastu Sarvatyagi, one who drops everything, renounces everything and meditates on that self and knows it. He Somya, oh my dear student. So Sarvatnyaha, he becomes Sarvatnya, he knows everything. One who knows the self knows everything. Because self is of the nature of knowledge, and anything, anywhere, anything is known. It is known because of the presence of the self only. Self alone is the ultimate knower behind everything that is known. So the self is Sarvajnaha, all knowing. So the knower of self also becomes all knowing. So Sarvajnaha, na tena aviditam kinchit sambhavati. Shankaracharya says there is nothing remains to be known by this person. Nothing unknown can exist for this person. Natena aviditam kinchit sambhavati. Nothing unknown is possible for this enlightened person. Knows everything. But before, in the state of ignorance, we did not know anything. Said yes. So purvam avidyaya asarvadnyam asarva asit asarvadnya asit. Due to ignorance, we remain asarvadnya, not knowing everything. But punaha vidyaya, but when we gain this knowledge, then what happens? Avidya apanaye, the ignorance gets eliminated, and sarvo bhavati tada, and one becomes everything. I know everything by becoming everything. Like the castle, the king, the queen. The king may know himself, the king may know the queen, but the sand knows the king, the queen, the castle, everything. Because everything is born in the sand only. Similarly, everything is known by the Supreme Self. By becoming everything, he knows everything. Sarvo bhavati tada, he becomes everything. Enlightened person is everything. See, due to our ignorance, we restrain an enlightened person in a particular body, in a particular place, in a particular time. It is due to our own ignorance. It's like a space in the pot. We feel it is here only. We see it is an enlightened space. So we protect the pot. But the space is everywhere. Enlightened person is everywhere because he is Brahma only. So tasmin artha esha shloka mantro bhavati uktartha sangrahakaha. So to indicate what is conveyed in this, the teacher quotes another mantra from the Vedas, from the other portion of the Vedas, also to indicate that whatever is conveyed is conveyed with the praman of Vedas only. The Vedas are the ultimate praman. Though this Upanishad is in the Veda only, but just to indicate to us that everything is known by Vedic praman only. So the teacher quotes another mantra, summarizing whatever was conveyed. So let us chant. विज्ञान आत्मा सह देवैश्च सर्वैः प्राणाभूतानि सम्प्रतिष्ठन्ति यत्र तदक्षरं वेदयते यस्तु सौम्य स सर्वज्ञः सर्वमेवाविवेशयति विज्ञानात्मा सह देवैश्च सर्वैः प्राणाभूतानि सम्प्रतिष्ठन्ति यत्र तदक्षरं वेदयते यस्तु सौम्य स सर्वज्ञः सर्वमेवाविवेशयति विज्ञानात्मा सह देवैश्च सर्वे प्राणाभूतानि सम्प्रतिष्ठन्ति यत्र where everything merges or resides or is established in deep sleep, including the Vijnanatma, the Antaratma. Vijnanatma saha devaishya, and all the devatas, means all the indriyas. Sarvaihi pranaha, and all the pranas. Bhutani, and all the bhutas, the pancha mahabhut, and the sukshma pancha mahabhut. Sampratishtanti yatra, where all of them resides very well, where all of them reside. Tad aksharam vedayate, that is the akshara, that is the immutable, indestructible, the reality, one who knows it, vedayate, one who realizes it. Yastu Somya, he Somya, one who realizes that Supreme Self, in which everything gets established. What happens? Sa Sarvajnaha, such a person becomes Sarvajna, becomes all knower. And Sarvam eva avivesheti, and enters everything, means becomes everything. So now we think that we are in this body, we reside in the body. Now, due to ignorance, all of us who are ignorant, we think that I exist, but I exist in this body. So that when the body moves, I feel I am moving. Body sits down, I think I am sitting. And through the senses which are also established in this body, I experience the world. I see the world is outside. Then I go to sleep and I dream. So I see a dream world within this mind. And in deep sleep, though I become one, I am one with that Supreme Self. But at that time, I don't recognize it. When the mind intellect wakes up, again I experience this world. And I think that I was in this body only while in deep sleep. I think I was in this body only. Now I am in this body. In deep sleep also I was in the body. But that is not true. So one who recognizes this true self properly becomes Sarvajna, and Sarvam eva avivesheti, and enters everything, means knows that I am everything, everyone. In the waking, I see this world different from me. An enlightened person looks at this world as his own self. He doesn't see the world as different from him. He sees everything as his own self. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan, when he shows the world to Arjuna, the Vishwarupa, he shows it as his own Rupa. He says, this is me, I, look at me. I have infinite heads and hands and legs and stomach and bodies. All this is me only. Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapa. The Supreme Self has what? Infinite heads and infinite hands and infinite legs and stomach and eyes and ears. So it's most amazing. So this Akshara, this Param Atma has to be known. That is my real nature. That is who I am. Whether in the waking state, dream, deep sleep, I am that Supreme Atma only. But due to ignorance, this strong identification happens and I fail to recognize myself as I am. So I have to know myself as I am. So how can I know myself as I am? How to gain that enlightenment? To gain that enlightenment, we have to first prepare our mind through karma and upasana. First step is karma yoga. Then we have to do some upasana to prepare the mind. And once the mind is prepared, then the teacher points out to me, the teacher points out to this Antaratma, to this Sushupta Atma, to this Kshetradnya, to this Vijnanatma, the teacher points out, hey, you are Brahma. He is not pointing to this body. When that Mahavakya Tattvamasi is not addressed to the body, it is not addressed to the mind, it is not addressed to the ahankar, it is addressed to the Kshetradnya. Hey, Kshetradnya, you are Brahma. Hey, Kshetradnya, you are Brahma. And once I hear this from the teacher, I have to contemplate. I am Atma, the Kshetratnya is I am Atma. This inner self is Brahma. I am Atma, Brahma. And through deep contemplation and meditation, finally I realize Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahma. This is all there is. So thus conclude this fourth answer to the fourth question. But here the teacher just hinted at that Param Purusha. But exactly what is the nature of that Param Purusha and how one can realize that Param Purusha, that will be told in the last section. The sixth question will be about that Param Purusha only. So what is the in-between question, the fifth question? The fifth question is most important. The fifth question is about the upasana which we have to do in order to prepare ourselves to know that Param Purusha. It is the sadhana mentioned here. See in Bhagavad Gita also, in the 13th chapter, Bhagavan first categorizes these two, Kshetra and Kshetradnya. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetramitti vidhiyate Etadyo vitti tam prahuhu kshetrajneti tadvidaha. This is kshetra, and the knower of the kshetra is kshetrajna. And then he says that the kshetrajna in all the kshetra is myself only. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarvakshetreshu bharata. So the real nature of the kshetrajna is that satyam jnanam anantam brahma. So in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan, before talking about the real nature of the kshetrajna, he gives some values which one has to cultivate, like amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, kshantirarjavam, acharyopasanam, shocham, stairyam, atmavinigraha. Like that, he gives so many values which one has to cultivate, because that is the sign of the purity of our antakarana. And once we gain this purity, we will be able to recognize our own inner self as Brahma. I am Atma Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi. That realization will happen. See, we have gained the theoretical understanding, but purity of the antakarana is very important, necessary. With that only we will be able to meditate and gain that abidance in our own Supreme Self. So the next question, the fifth question, is most important. It gives us the upasana and the topmost upasana. The topmost upasana is indicated in this next section. What is the topmost upasana? It is upasana of Om. Omkar upasana, it is said. See, we have so many different types of upasanas which we do. Like Pratika upasana, we invoke the presence of Bhagwan in an idol and worship it. So that idol is taken as a support for me to meditate, to worship. It is the support. Just like we have the national flag, it is a support. It represents our nation, and we can express our respect, reverence to the nation by showing reverence to the flag. So flag is just a supporter, alambana. Similarly, that Brahma is very big, very large, infinite. So, in order to meditate on that Brahma, to purify our antakarana, we have to constantly think about Brahma. We need some support. And the best support, or the most sublime support, is Om. In Kathopanishad also we have seen the mantra saying that Etad alambanam shreshtham, Etad alambanam param. This about the Om, the teacher Yamarajji, he said, this is the supreme alamban, supreme support. So that Omkar Upasana is the topic is taken up in the next section. The fifth disciple, he approaches the teacher and he asks this question. So let us begin the fifth section and read the first mantra. Atah hainam shebhyah Satyakamah papracha स यो हवै तद् भगवन् मनुष्येषु प्रायणान्तम् ओङ्कारम् अभिध्यायेत कथमं वावस तेन लोकं जयतीति। अतः एनं शैभ्यः सत्यकामः पप्रच्छ स यो हवै तद्भगवन् मनुष्येषु प्रायणान्तम् ओङ्कारम् अभिध्यायेत कथमं वावस तेन लोकं जयतीति। अथ now एनं शैभ्यः सत्यकामः पप्रच्छ. Shaibhyah, the disciple, the seeker Shaibhyah, who is the son of Shiviputra, whose name was Satyakama. So Shiviputra Satyakama Papracha, he asked. Whom did he ask? The teacher, Pippalada Rishi. What did he ask? Sayo Havai Tad Bhagavan, O Bhagavan. He addressed the teacher as Bhagavan. He says, Sayo Havai, that if a seeker, Manusheshu, among the human beings, a human being, a seeker, among all human beings, if there is one seeker or one upasak who does upasana till the end of his life, prayanantam, prayanantam means till his death, means throughout his life a person does upasana. What upasana? Omkaram avidhyayita, he does Omkara upasana, he does dhyana of Omkar. Omkar is Om, that ekakshara, Om. Throughout his life, he does Omkara upasana, nothing else. Om, drop everything else and just does Omkara upasana till the end of his life. Kathamam bhavatsateena lokam jayati iti. Which loka will he attain when he dies? While doing this upasana till the end of his life, after his death, which loka will he attain? That is the question. Shankaracharya writes beautiful commentary on this. He says, Ataha enam shebhyaha satyakamaha papracha. So Shebhya Satyakam, he asked, Atha idanim parapara brahma prapti sadhanatvena omkarasya upasana vidhitsaya prashna arabhyate. This question is asked with the intention of knowing the sadhana of attaining Parabrahma and Aparabrahma. See, through this upasana, one can attain Aparabrahma also. Aparabrahma means Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is called Aparabrahma. Apara means lower. No? Apara is a Sanskrit word. Apara means lower. Lower Brahma is Hiranyagarbha. And Param Brahma is that Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Through the upasana on Omkar, depending on how much of understanding we have about that Omkar and how one is doing that upasana, one can attain the lower Brahma or one can even attain the higher Brahma, taking the support of Om. So in order to understand this properly, this question is being asked. So Saya Kaschid Vai Bhagavan Manusheshu. So some person among human beings, Manushyanam Madhye Tad Adbhutam, a very wonderful human being, very rare and wonderful human being, because to continuously do upasana till one's death requires that type of shraddha and that patience and persistence. So adbhutam iva prayanantam maranantam till death yavat jivam iti etat omkaram abhidhyayita abhimukhyena chintayet. So if a person does omkar dhyan, means chintan on omkar, then which loka he will attain? Shankaracharya actually gives a beautiful definition. He describes what is the dhyan. बाह्य विषयेभ्य उपसंहृत करण समाहित चित्तः भक्त्या वेशित ब्रह्म भाव ओंकारे आत्म प्रत्यय संतानाविच्छेदो भिन्न जातीय प्रत्ययांतरा किलीकृतो निर्वातस्त दीप दीप शिखा समो अभिध्यान शब्दार्थः. The meaning of the word dhyan, abhidhyana, that we will see in our class on Wednesday. It's a very beautiful chapter about this Omkar Upasana. We will see on Wednesday. Till then, you take care, be happy, stay peaceful, healthy, do your work, do your sadhana, and listen to the pravachan again. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, YouTube channel, and then share this with your friends, your family. That is your seva. Because we have to do some seva also. When the students go to the Gurukul, they have to do seva. Though you are not staying with me, but this is like a Gurukul only. www, this online, all of us come together. So your seva will be to share this video and all with your friends or relatives on various platforms, so that more and more people come to know about this and they benefit from this. Okay? So see you all on Wednesday. Hari Om. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. 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 Jaya Jaya Ram. Jaya Jaya Ram. Bless Ramchandra Bhagwan ki Jai. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.